Secretary Hegseth went so far as to say that the Strait of Hormuz is open, other than the fact that there would be fire against vehicles transiting the strait. This is clearly amateur hour.
As the war in the Middle East escalates, my next guest says that we've seen this movie before. Joining us now, former Transportation Secretary and Afghan war veteran Pete Buttigieg. I want to play something that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said earlier this week about how this war differs from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Take a listen.
This is not 2003. This is not endless nation building under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush or Obama. It's not even close. Our generation of soldier will not let that happen again.
You're also a part of that generation of soldier. What's your take?
What I'm worried about is not the soldiers and the people who are serving. What I'm worried about is their political leadership, like Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump. You know, we lived through a war that was sold to us on false pretenses when I was younger. This war has not been sold on any pretense. The president just went ahead and did it. Here's the biggest thing that has not changed since the war in Afghanistan or the war in Iraq. The biggest thing that has not changed is who pays the price. We have now seen 13 American service members killed. And when you prepare to go to war, the thing you think about, the thing you most dread, is your family being the ones to get that knock on the door. More than a dozen American families have now gotten that knock on the door, and the president has basically assured us that there will be more where that came from. And while they're paying the ultimate price, every American is paying some price. Right now, mortgage rates are up because of this war. Food is going to be more expensive because of this war. And of course, the price of gas that we're paying at the pump is more expensive because of this war.
So the Trump administration argues that they needed to take action to take out Iran's nuclear weapons program and Iran's ballistic missile program because when they came into office, the Biden administration, your administration, had done nothing in 4 years to stop Iran from building a nuclear weapon, developing ballistic missiles, funding terrorism around the world. Are they wrong?
Yes, of course they're wrong. I mean, for one thing, the president assured us that the nuclear program, President Trump assured us that the nuclear program was, in his words, obliterated just a few months ago. And let's also remember that in the past, Iran's nuclear program was contained without a shot being fired. I think President Trump thought he could get a better deal than the Obama administration did. He failed to get that better deal, and he went off and launched a war without planning, without being ready for even some of the most basic things. I mean, it is a certainty that the military would have advised him that the Straits of Hormuz would have been closed, that that was a likely scenario, and yet they're talking about this and clearly acting as though they didn't think this would happen. The Secretary Hegseth went so far as to say that the Strait of Hormuz is open, other than the fact that there would be fire against vehicles transiting the strait. This is clearly amateur hour at the Pentagon and in the White House. And again, the price is being paid by all of us. You can also just tell from the administration's attitude toward this war, the fact that they're putting out videos treating this like a video game. It's not a video game for the families of the fallen. And then, just this week, we saw campaign fundraising materials being put out, emails where the president's committee, the president's political operation, was raising money off of images of him in a dignified transfer. Any politician who does that has no business leading American troops in the war. If the president is willing to raise campaign funds over the bodies of America's war dead, he is unfit to be the commander-in-chief.
Let's talk about the status of the war. My panel joins me now. Congressman, I mean, President Trump just said a few hours ago on social media that Iran has been beaten. So why are we still there?
Right, yeah. This has been the big mistake of the administration. You can argue we never should have done anything with the war, but I would say the biggest mistake is just not preparing the American people for it. And then when you realize this is going to take a few days longer than you think, right now a couple weeks longer, then it's just constantly, oh, that's all right, we already won though. Don't worry, tomorrow it'll be better. And I think the president, in his own way, we've seen this before, is panicking because the market takes a hit, because people are turning against him. And he wants to live in this world where we're right on one, being successful in one day. I just think he needs to level with people and say what the truth is. Hey, we may be done tomorrow. This may go on for a few more weeks. The Strait of Hormuz is going to matter.
That's the leveling with the American people. What
Right.
about the Iranian people? Because in January, President Trump was saying help is on the way, right? And now it seems pretty clear that regime change is not necessarily in the cards.
Yeah, and the Iranian people are squeezed between the airstrikes and a regime that is extremely brutal. I mean, people tell me that there are roadblocks everywhere in the country. An 88-year-old was telling me that he was made forced to get off his car to open up his trunk at a gunpoint. So yeah, it's not a good situation. Tehran was under intense bombing last night, and so was the city of Isfahan, and people are just waiting to see what's going to happen.
Where are we in the war?
Well, I think the president's faced. The reason you're hearing some uncertainty or mixed signals is because they have two choices. The first choice has already been made. We're going to end Iran's military capabilities and end their ability to project terror and force abroad. The second choice is whether you take their oil infrastructure out, their oil export infrastructure. You don't take it out if it looks like there's going to be a regime that rises in place in Iran that we could deal with, and it would be peaceful for the region. You'd leave that infrastructure intact if that's going to happen. If it's not going to happen,
It's not going to happen.
then we have to take out the oil export.
I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't sense, at least at this point, any notion that there's going to be some sort of reasonable government.
Well, but then in that case, we have to leave it decapitated militarily and unable to export oil to China and Russia.
You've been out there talking to people in the field about the midterms. Is this coming up at all? Are the American people engaged in the war?
It's really interesting. So I did spend a couple days with, these are, organizers who are in communities, and you would think it's housing, it's healthcare, and those are concerns. The war is coming up. It's percolating in a couple of ways. Young people who are angry, similar to our own polling, angry that he broke his promise, worried that they could be
Broke his
sent-
promise about taking
about
the country.
taking the country to war. And I should mention that these are like black and brown young people, some of whom are in the military or come from families that have military service, and parents are worried about their kids being sent, and they're not buying it. They know it's a war. They're not buying it. Politically, the president is trying to, and Republicans are trying to not say it's a war, but they know it's a war, and they know our troops are in danger. And so it's just interesting that in a time, in communities where you would think these cost issues would be top issues, that actually people are, they even asked one of the senators this week about the War Powers Resolution, which,
Really?
Yes. They, it was like, oh, this housing bill is great, but wait, we want to talk about the War Powers Act, which, when do you ever hear that from activists on the front lines?
Brad, do you disagree with Congressman Kinzinger that there wasn't enough preparation in terms of communications to the American people about why this is happening, how long it's going to take, et cetera?
I wish the president had talked about it in his State of the Union address, but he has spent 7 months telling Americans that we have to take out Iran's ability to project power abroad. And frankly, this is 7 presidents too late. He's the first president who's had the guts to take out the force that has caused chaos and mayhem and killed Americans almost every administration going all the way back to Jimmy Carter.
And we're seeing a different threat environment right now. Attacks on the synagogue, at Old Dominion University. There is, I'm not blaming it on President Trump, but there is now this cost at home.
Yeah, there is. And, I don't think this is necessarily Iran projecting its power, but, anytime you have a big thing that is could be interpreted as religious, you have, a chance that somebody gets radicalized. And I think that's what you're seeing, these lone wolf radicalizations. And I'll also say, what Brad was saying makes sense, and the administration should actually hire you to come out and lay that out, which is, we'll take out your oil if you're going to be bad, we'll leave it if you're going to be good. I think Americans need to hear that. Are we going to occupy Karg Island or not? Are we going to hold it hostage while we kind of figure it out?
What happens in Iran if the U.S. takes out the oil?
Karg Island specifically is the economic lifeline of the Islamic Republic and of Iran. Just to make the threat, it has a psychological impact on the Iranian regime. Let's not forget that Karg was under intense bombing during the war with Iraq, and ultimately was one of the key reasons that Iran surrendered and agreed to sign a peace deal with Iraq. 90% of Iran's oil is exported from that island. And if it comes under attack, it will retaliate.